So welcome everybody. Happy Monday. It is Monday, October 26th, 2020. It's a little after noon right now. And we are in week 7 of the Next Level, presented by Pathstone Enterprise Center and the Small Business Education Institute. We are sponsored by KeyBank, as we are every week. So thank you to KeyBank for allowing us to do this every week and come into your homes, your offices, your cars, and to allow us to educate you and bring you a good presentation from Mr. McCarley. And this week, we're going to be talking about projections this week. So we will, I know we've got a lot to cover, so I will kind of get through my little spiel here in the beginning. The best way to interact with us, the best way to engage with us is through the chat, because then we have a record of the questions you've asked, the comments you've made, the things you want to see next week, the things you want to see next year, and in any other kind of workshop series or forum that we do. So if you can use the chat, we encourage you to do that. If you're not comfortable with the chat, if you'd rather come off of mute and talk to us, we encourage you to do that as well. Any way that you feel most comfortable engaging with us, please do that. If you're going to come off of mute, if you have a microphone or a headset rather that you can use, that tends to help. It kind of cuts down on that background noise and that static. If not, make sure your speakers are turned down a little bit so there's no feedback. But yeah, when you're not speaking, we ask that you keep your microphone on mute. That way we don't have any kind of, again, static and feedback and any kind of background noise, all that. And speaking of stuff in the background, we are recording the session today. So if your camera is on, we can see you. You'll be on Facebook Live and YouTube. So if you don't want your face broadcast over the interweb, you can shut that off. But we do love seeing your smiling faces. So please keep that on if you're comfortable. And some announcements before we get to the nitty-gritty here. So every Monday, 12 to 1:30 through the end of November, we will be having the Next Level. So this is week 7. We've got a few more weeks after this to take us up through week 12, and then we'll have graduation. Speaking of graduation, if you attend at least 6 Next Level classes, if you attend at least 6 of these, you are invited to graduation, and we just need a short bio from you and your headshot. If you graduated from boot camp and you want to use the same bio and headshot that's used in boot camp for your Next Level graduation, just let us know in the chat, and we'll make sure that we do that. But we'll be getting a full roster of everybody who's eligible for graduation, who's going to get invited. We'll have all that over the next few weeks. We'll be updating that so everybody knows who. If you're eligible for graduation, we will let you know. This Friday, from 11 to noon on Zoom, we have our what I believe is going to be our final small business forum of 2020, and we're going to be talking about something super important: revving up your revenue, increasing your sales during the holiday season. How can we use November and December and all the holidays that fall therein to increase our revenues, increase our sales? So please join us for that this Friday at 11 o'clock. You'll be able to register for that. We'll have a link in the email we send out after today's event, and you can also find it on our Facebook page and our websites, theenterprisecenterinc.org and bizupbuffalo.org. So check that out. Thursday, though, from 3 to 5:30, if you're looking for funding for your business, if you're looking for money for your business, whether it's a grant or a loan, join us through Capital Connect. We have partnered with some of our other local CDFIs. We're going to be talking about ways to, we're going to be talking about opportunities for grants and lending and all that. It's going to be a great event. We have a lot of people registered. We have a lot of speakers lined up, a lot of resources that we can pair you with. So this Thursday from 3 to 5:30, please join us for that. It's a free event. And when I say free, I mean free. There's no strings. Join us for that. The Fast Forward Monroe County grant program, I know that, I believe Deandra asked about grants in Monroe County last week. So we have that link here available for you for anybody in Monroe County or Rochester. We will have that link to you so you can look for grants back home or over there in your home. And the one thing that is brand new to us, a new project we have, I should say, is the Profit and Loss podcast from Pathstone Enterprise Center. We have 2 episodes live now. We have a trailer live. Every Wednesday, we're going to have episodes coming out. So this Wednesday, look for another episode. And here in the really near future, look for an episode with me and Jahida and our special guest, Mr. McCarley, will be joining us on an episode. So look for that. It's like a 30-minute podcast. The first one takes you through kind of who we are, what we do. And then the most recent one, the one that is out right now, the one you'll see when you go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google, is talking about what you should think about when you're getting a loan for your business, what you should be prepared for, all the questions that you could ask. I think we answer a lot of those in 30 or 35 minutes. So please listen to that if you have any questions, and it gives you all the contact information so you can reach out and get with us. So Profit and Loss podcast from Pathstone Enterprise Center. That's a project with me and Jahida. And now I'm going to let Dion do one of her favorite things, call on a couple people and have them use our script here that Mr. McCarley has crafted and do a pitch for their business, introduce their business to the group. So Dion, I will hand it over to you and let you choose a couple people here.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. It's good to see you all back here. If you check the chat, I did plug in 3 links there for you just to make it convenient for you to just click and register or download our podcast. And let me see, who shall I call on this morning? I think I will start with Eric Tarver.
Good morning. I should say good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, that's right. It is afternoon. How are you doing, Eric?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I am good, thank you. How many of these workshops have you been to now?
This, if I'm not mistaken, makes my 7th one, and I was also in the boot camp as well.
Great. And are you satisfied with the content that you are getting out of these workshops?
Yes, indeed. It's very informative.
Wonderful. Very good to hear. Okay, Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Okay, well, we'll give this a whirl. My name is Eric Tarver, and I'm the founder of AquaSave, an establishment engaged in stormwater management. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need to mitigate combined sewer overflows. Excuse me. One of our solutions is to control the rate of flow into the sewer system by trapping excess water and using it for hydroelectric production.
Wow, that was pretty good. I'm going to give you an applause here. Eric,
Thank you
very good. Good job, everybody. We should all applaud Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, let's see. Ruthie Harris, good morning. Would you like to say a little bit about yourself and your business?
Hi, yes, good morning. Thank you. My name is Susie Harris. I'm the owner of Blossom of Tea Excel, an establishment engaged in virtual assistant services. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need for administrative services without it being out for our individual projects. For the best solutions for small business owners and individuals, we accomplish this by serving our customers on a project-by-project basis, resulting in them not having to hire a full-time employee to execute the different projects.
Ruthie, I am so sorry. I think something came off mute. Ariana?
I'm sorry. Let me check. Can you hear me better now?
No. If you're not
No.
speaking, can you please?
Okay, let me see how. take off my Bluetooth.
I told you he was an athlete.
Okay,
I'm not joking.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great.
So
Oh, that's
sorry.
so good. Okay, great. Okay, my name is Ruthie Harris, and I'm the owner of Blossom Achieve Excel, an establishment engaged in virtual assistant services. The business was born out of the observation that there was a need for administrative services. One of our solutions for small businesses and individuals that need, we accomplish this by working on a project by project basis, resulting in lower overhead for our customers so they don't have to hire a full-time employee for short-term projects.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Good job. Round of applause for Ruthie. Yay. Good job. Thank you so much. And finally, let's see. Makisha? Did I say that correctly? Makisha? No, okay. How about Kay? Kay, would you like to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to call on Mr. McCarley this afternoon, to tell us about himself and his business.
Well, thank you, Deanna.
You're welcome.
My name is Michael McCarley. I actually operate as the director of the Small Business Education Institute. We primarily engage and have shifted into the education of small business enhancement, what I like to call the mind of business. The business actually kind of came about because of the observation that individuals were not able to move forward for some reason in the enhancement, progression, or increase in income for a lot of their businesses. So we've actually put together a 17 platform education system overall that can be broken up into certain segments based on the business in which you're engaging, so that you can actually not only enhance your business, but enhance your personal skills and the mindset that you have, which is associated with business.
Fantastic. A round of applause for Mr. McCarley. Yay. Good job, Michael.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks to everyone who shared, and I'm going to hand it back over to Adam. I hope you all enjoyed today's class.
Thank you, everybody. And those are getting really good. So I think as we continue to go forward, they'll be even better, and everybody will get a chance to pitch their business and use that script. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes when you do it out in the real world. So, and speaking of the real world, we're ready for a dose of that. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. McCarley, and he's going to take us through week 7 and projections. So Mike, it's all yours now, sir.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. How are we doing this afternoon? Let's get some hellos. Let's have the shaky one in there. Okay. All right. I hope everybody is definitely moving in a progressive manner, because it becomes enormously important for us to be able to move first and foremost within our own selves, so that we can actually enhance the village while we provide services to others. Now, I've got a couple of things that I'm going to actually do here. And we're going to change up today just a little bit. So one of the things that's become enormously apparent, COVID has actually created a very interesting set of circumstances for a lot of individuals. and to be able to move over and above a lot of the madness. It is enormously helpful to kind of have partners in the deal. And when I say partners in the deal, I'm talking about individuals that potentially help guide your way. So one of the things that occurred over these last 6 weeks is the fact that in week 1, it was really an introduction. Who are you, how you're doing, let us know, really what's going on, and also to prepare you for the course in hand. Week 2, however, was a conversation about the story. And most of what we've actually been introduced to in the mornings that Dion does is to get you guys to participate in the guidelines that have been presented there, which simplify the story. One of my things is that we have a tendency of presenting way too much information when we're introducing ourselves to people, and we lose their interest. So one of the questions I have to ask for those that have been with us for a while, were there any questions that were associated with, what your particular story actually was? Or more interesting, any questions that you may have in your head about, bringing forward what I call the hook, that which actually brings people in so you can continue to have the conversation that you want to have, figure out whether or not you can provide the services for these particular individuals or whom you deal with, or even possibly be able to extract information because of the businesses they have that potentially can help you. So is there anybody that potentially has a question about this? You can put it in the chat, or you can let me know directly, or you can come off mute and ask the question. I know we have a brilliant crew here that's with us every week, so any questions whatsoever about the story, about your introduction to people? And what do we have here? No questions right now? Cool. Good, good. Yes, Barbara.
I've actually, since we've started looking at the script, I find myself thinking about, like expanding that, or maybe not expanding isn't the word, but that I may have to shift the theme for the business that I want to start. So I'm kind of conflicted between that, because I know sometimes we may have to do that, like we may have to shift, but then it's like at the same time, I'm at the beginning of trying to, focus the message that I'm trying to send. So now I'm feeling a little conflicted, and it probably comes off as being unfocused. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. One of the things that I'm trying to get everybody to understand is we as a community have a doublespeak. And what we have not always learned to do well is actually how to speak to those individuals that actually are our clients versus those individuals that might be part of friends and family. The conflict that you are running across, Barbara, really isn't that much of a conflict. And as opposed to really using up a lot of time, what I want to do is, if you'd send me a note privately with your number, to give you a call, and we'll talk about your presentation, because the one that I heard you do really didn't sound that conflicted, although I could tell there were some things running in your head while you're doing the presentation. But I will help you to kind of streamline it so that it actually presents the message that you want it to do. The piece that we've been initially introduced to is to get people into a format, to begin to understand, to think about how some things actually work. There's actually a second part, and it's the second part that we don't have, unfortunately, the time to go through totally in this particular series. However, today there are some individuals, and a matter of fact, Barbara, you might end up being an interesting candidate for this. I'm actually gonna pick 3 people out that I'm going to work with on the part 1 and part 2. And as a part of it, in week 12, you guys are actually going to do part 1, part 2 presentation about your business. And next week, next week and a week after, I'm going to work with you guys to actually help you formulate how and or to craft that particular message you want to bring across. Because understand, the message that you put out there does not necessarily take away from what you're trying to do. It's just how we present it sometimes is necessary depending on who we deal with. So when you're dealing with governments and states and things of that nature, we can't talk to them like we're talking to our neighbor. There's a different language that we have to present to get these people interested in what we do, because they don't have to. And contrary to a lot of beliefs, nobody has to hire you, regardless of all the regulations in place, to do business. But if you actually surprise them, they'll bring you in just because they're amazed at the fact that you knew a word, you knew a phrase. You're not supposed to know that. So we're going to call you in. So we're going to figure out more about what you know. And then they call you in and then are just stupefied by your knowledge, your ability. There's this thing that used to exist. They call them KSAs, knowledge, skills, and ability. Federal government has changed that a little bit, but the reality is it still comes out to be the same thing. What is your knowledge about what you do, how you do it, how you're going to deliver it? What is your skill set in order to be able to deliver those particular aspects to a particular community and a client? And do you really have the ability to actually do it? And how is that made possible, i.e., give me an example of ability to deliver that service. This is the piece that is a little different for the community. It's a little different for a lot of people who especially never dealt with government contracts, especially federal. But it's just a different mindset that you have to have. It's just you're driving a car, you happen to be in drive. Driving up a mountain, you put it in drive 1. You're driving down a mountain, you put it in drive 2. Because you don't want to accelerate too fast without having control of the vehicle. And it's the same thing. So I'm going to work with some people. And we're gonna knock it out the box. How's that sound, Barbara? Is that all right? All right, good job. Shrell, you had asked a question about detailed NAICS code. NAICS.com is where you actually start. And when you go into that particular platform, you look for the NAICS and you're going to use a keyword. And the keyword normally is associated with what you may think you do as a business. When you put that word in, then normally items will pop up that either had that particular keyword in it, and you actually take a look to see, are any of those items actually appropriate to your business? Now, we may have to play with a couple of keywords, because also what we think we do is not necessarily incorrect, but it's not the terminology that might be used by governments. And so when you're going for a lot of contracts, especially outside of what I call local entities, or doing private care services, one of the things that ends up happening is we have to begin to use the terms, the links, the codes. Listen, New York State has got a book of commodity codes. There's got to be like 3,000 to 4,000 codes in that book of the different items that are actually purchased, i.e. by the state. Federal government has its own as well. The NAICS code just happens to be a simpler way to really present what it is that you actually do. And so now week 3, we began to talk about the numbers. And part of week 4 also, we were talking about, your numbers. What are they? What are you spending on this? What are you spending on that? What's your lifestyle actually look like? Which is a piece which is enormously important for what we ran into with regard to week 5, the success formula. But before that, we dealt with before success. And so I'm also make this interesting comment. It's not really expected that you're going to know how much all your costs actually are. Although I think I made a comment during the success formula piece that commercial rates are double that of residential rates. So even if you don't have a clue of how much gas you're going to spend in a particular building that you're going to go into, listen, take your monthly gas bill, double it at least, quite honestly, triple it. That's probably how much gas per month you're actually going to have to spend in the place. Until you find out specifically, either from the owner of the building, what the average usage seems to be, that's a good kind of rule of thumb. So you take your utilities, and quite honestly, you triple them. If you're paying $50 for electric, you're definitely paying $150 per month in the place that you're actually in. If you're paying $100 a month for gas on the average, you're going to pay $300 a month, just because the rate happens to be at least double residential. And don't worry about whether it's right or wrong, because what I've seen way too often is individuals don't know, they don't put the numbers in, and what they think they need to generate as revenues for the business is technically incorrect. Because you're short figuring out money that you're going to have to bring in to pay out in order for your operation to work. So the numbers, again, it's another thing we work with. And I know a lot of people are not major fans of numbers, but I'm going to ask the question. Does anybody have a question about numbers? How to figure out or determine, especially if you're moving into a brick and mortar. Additionally, numbers are important because a lot of people are using their homes, but they're not deducting costs as a part of that proportion of using the home. That stuff is actually an allowable deduction, people. It really is. You should be figuring out how much of your home is being used by the business and really kind of take that percentage, and your gas, your lights, your utilities, these things which are things that you pay on, that's a deduction for the business. It's just the business is going to pay for that, and you personally are going to pay for the other part. Okay, Sherelle, that works. So then we went into week 4. So anyway, again, for week 3 and week 4, does anybody have any questions offhand about numbers overall? Something that's kind of short, sweet, and simple that I might be able to answer quickly, because I do want to get to our lesson. Anything showing up? Anyone want to come off mute? And trust me, numbers are an issue. If you got a question about it, please call me. Matter of fact, let me put it in here. 716-239-6417 is my number. I put it in the chat. If somebody has a question about any of these particular sections, please feel free, give me a call. I may not pick up the phone immediately, but I will call you back. Please leave a message. So now, week 4 was marketing. And marketing not for how you need to market, marketing from the perspective of how do you figure out how many people potentially that you might need to satisfy a question that a lot of financial people really have but won't ask directly. How many people really might be interested in what you have? It's not everybody. What is the demographic or the psychographics of the particular group that you're dealing with? Are they males? Are they female? Are they old? Are they young? Do they have income? Do they not have income? In putting together the numbers associated with how many people do I need to reach versus also how many people are in that immediate target market, or what I call a special market, that I can actually get. Because a lot of people are putting together business plans. And in putting together business plans, one of the things that's in there, that's just, it doesn't necessarily pop up. They talk about marketing, so how are you going to reach these people? That's valid. But when you put your numbers together, do your numbers actually make sense to the marketplace you actually have? And it's not about you trying to get 100%. You're just trying to get a small percentage, and I use 3% as a number. If you can get 3% of the believed population that you actually need, if it shows up by using census data, there is no reason in the universe any banker should actually question about the fact of the marketplace you're trying to get, because you're not trying to get 3% of market share. Market share is different. I'm just trying to get 3% of the marketplace. And that's enormously important because your numbers actually can be based on that number. So if you got 2,000 individuals that you ultimately come down to, and figure out that that's a part of, that's my total marketplace, then quite honestly, can 60 of those individuals over the course of 12 months actually help to sustain the business? And if they can't, then what you need to take a look at is maybe expanding the area by which you're looking at, either the area, the type of people you're looking for to provide the services for, things of that nature. And it becomes enormously helpful when you're trying to move forward or to actually convince somebody that I have enough individuals in my marketplace, my special market, my niche, as it were, that if I contact these people, there are enough of them out there to actually make it possible for me to actually run the business. And even better, you back into it and say, how many of these people do I need on an average daily basis to come buy what I have? Are you going to get all these people initially? No. But what it helps to do is gives you a goal to go for in the course of the year. And if you can get all those individuals, guess what? Like was said in week 5, success formula changes a little bit, because the success formula was before success, business expenses times our growth matrix, which is 5.86, plus the cost of goods sold. And what we added was lifestyle and retirement. Those particular costs we have a tendency of forgetting. And ultimately, these are figures that we need to clearly understand, because at the end of the day, and who shall I ask this wonderful question of? Or matter of fact, I'll ask everybody that happens to be on the webinar. There were 4 business uses for funds. Can anybody tell me what they are? 4 business uses, and Sydney, you're excluded from this particular question. Can anybody give me the 4 uses of business funds? Sherelle, yep, that's one. And anybody else? And I know this is a lot of stuff from week to week. I'm really clear on that, guys. I really am. But I also want you to understand that all of this stuff is interlinked. Every week I go through something that is just intimately linked, not only to you, but to your business, to its growth, to your future success. Kay gives me self-employed debt and operational costs. That is correct, Kay. Carmelita's got your self-operating expenses. Employee. Yep, the 4 that are on there. And in order, by the way, our employee, operating expense, operating debt, and then you. I've actually put these in the chat. Oh, no, okay, you're fine, you're kind. I want people just to begin to think about it. I don't know, order wasn't fine, heck, if people get them. But the one thing I want to make really clear, you're not at the top of the list, okay, for the total progress that exists for the business financially. If you can generate the kind of funds, and again, this was a goal, this was a measure, this was a guide to success. If you reach that particular number, well, ultimately in the bottom line that you can pay what is necessary in order for you to live a comfortable life, not lavish and not po. And some of you won't know what I'm talking about when I say po. Can't afford the OR at the end of poor, so we just po. And a lot of us are po, including myself. I'm not at that point. I'll be there, next week maybe after I go in the backyard, lift up the doghouse, pull out a bag of cash. The thing is, we all have to move forward to put things in place. I've got 2 children that went through college I'm paying for. So it'll be a minute before I'm where I need to be. That's funny, Kay. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's an old school perspective, but we have to get out of, again, even that Poe mentality. We got to move forward. It's not about necessarily being worldly. Worldly is a problem, okay? Worldly is a problem, but this is not about being worldly. This is about understanding what might go on in the world and being able to make a choice which puts you in a position of success. Then in week 6, one of the big things that it was Porter's 5 forces. These are all things that we deal with associated with our business that a lot of times we don't necessarily think about. One of the items, of course, is just your customers. The other are your vendors. Competition you already know about because normally that's what's asked of you when it comes to a lot of times your business plan or other discussions associated with what you're actually going to do. Can anybody give me the last 2? What are the last 2 items? We've got your competition. We've got your buyer power. We've got your vendors who put pressure on you. But there are 2 others, and one of which we don't think about, quite honestly, a lot, but it's enormously important because they are who help us to actually generate revenues. So who we got?
4 of them go together somehow. 1 does not. So let's try to
Okay, somebody's got a side class going on.
corn, peas, broccoli, cabbage.
Yeah, I missed the total question. I wasn't sure if you were talking about those that can enter your market as well, but I missed part of it because typing things in the chat to people. My apologies.
Oh, no. But yes, the individuals of whether or not they can enter your marketplace. Threat of entry is one that we don't normally think about. And what's the other one? What's the last one? Who is it that helps us actually make money? Anybody? Anybody?
The customer.
That is correct. Pressure from the customer. You know, customer is never wrong. Okay. Jury's out on that one for me. But the aspect of the customer applying pressure to you because they don't want to pay the price for what you have. And sometimes the thing is this, if you find it better someplace else, be my guest, please go there. Because what we have to again be very clear on is what does it cost us to do what we do? What does it cost us? We have to be real clear on that. That actually dictates the price that we are actually applying to our products or services. Now, the question, Kay, primarily was, you know, I named 3 of the forces out of Porter's 5 forces, and I was looking for the other 2. And the other 2 were threat to entry. Is it easy for someone actually to get into what you do? And the other is just the customer themselves. And then today, we're actually going to talk about projections, which is an enhancement of what we learned in week 3 and week 4. It plays into week 4 from the marketing perspective. It plays into the aspect of numbers that we have. It plays into the success formula. It plays into Porter's 5 forces. And ultimately, it will play into your story. So is everybody ready to make this happen? Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's going on. Thumbs up if you can. I understand some people are having some issues with their systems. That's fine. Put it in the chat. All right. That's what I like to see. Let's make this world go round. All righty. So again, before I leave this page, offhand, does anybody have a question about any of the things we've learned over the weeks itself? Your story, talking about the numbers, talking about marketing, talking about the success formula, or even Porter's 5 Forces. Any questions? Going once, going twice. Sold. Our aspect of projections, we're going to deal with this week. And whether people like numbers or not, projections really aren't the bad guys. Projections are an aspect of planning. They are what might happen in the future. They are a good tool to actually use to take a look at the what ifs of your business. And as usual, again, I won't ask for a thumbs up again because I know some people are actually on here and they're actually making things happen. So now what I'm going to do is, where do you stand? Where are you at mentally, physically, financially, spiritually? Put it in the chat box, please. Write it on the side of paper. Remember, this is something that, I want you guys to take a look at every week. I want you to be clear on where you're at mentally. Am I able to push through, even in the days that I'm actually feeling bad, to make things happen that I need to have happen with my business? Physically, can I at least lift up this cup of coffee so that I can actually do what I need to do for the day? Because if you're having a hard time lifting up that cup of coffee, we need to have a conversation. Financially, I'm expecting people not necessarily this to be a great item. And like I say, 1 is everything sucks, and 10, it is so friggin' phenomenal. But I want you to be honest with yourself, because next week, I'm going to ask a slightly different question associated with regard to where you are financially and spiritually, which is not necessarily religious, but are you in a particular place where you can garner peace within yourself, where you can take a moment and just melt away a lot of the issues and stresses that are actually going on, even if it's only temporary, so you can realign again your mind so you can move forward and do what you need to do. I will share this as a short story. One of the things I've come to find, and especially for people who are in certain aspects of retail, you have to be mentally strong in order to make it happen. I'm going to say this again. You have to have the mental strength to make things happen. Because you also will notice the order in which I put these. If you are mentally strong, it allows you to do certain things also physically. This is one of the first rules, actually, of the military. And not that I'm a great fan of the military, but I have to seriously commend the aspect that if you can mentally go through something, physically should actually be a breeze. If you are physically healthy and you've got your mental stuff together, then you're actually able to focus and to do the things that are necessary to actually gain the financial aptitude to move forward in your life. Financial aptitude. If I'm mentally strong, I can physically push through it, I can make my money, and then I can actually have peace with what I have based on the fact that I am providing a service. Again, I will never get away from this. We provide services to individuals. And if I'm providing that particular service, I'm actually able to do what I need to do to make things happen. And so again, this is enormously important. We really, really need to understand that. So with everybody with that in, last week, what did we talk about again? Porter's 5 Forces. Threat to new entrants, substitutes. Substitutes was what? Replacement of what you do, replacement of a product that you actually sell. An example of a substitute is water versus Coke. We don't think of it that way. We're thinking about Coke, but even if we thought about Coke, water becomes a substitute. The power of the customer itself, because the customer has a lot of buying power, and the customer is really who kind of makes us what we are, at least from a revenue standpoint. Your suppliers or vendors that you deal with that provide you with product or service will sometimes put pressure on you. And of course, your rivalry, or your competition, whether they're direct or indirect. Individuals that have internet businesses, you got a heck of a lot of direct impact of competition. I want you to be really clear on that, okay? Indirect almost doesn't matter on the internet. Almost everybody's direct because they're selling some part or parcel of what you do. So always be aware of that. But these are the 5 forces, and as small businesses, we are impacted by every single one of them. And each one of these is actually and will affect the kind of money that we make. If we're not clear on what we do, how we present it, why we present it, okay? And for whom in particular we present it for. All righty, anybody got any questions? Yes, no, put it in the chat, please. Let me know you're still here. I got free cookies at the end of the session for anybody that answers. There we go. We're getting a couple thumbs up. Good job. Good job. What we got in the chat here? Yes, Shana. All right. Everybody still here and happening? Good, 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 good. So before I specifically get into projections, I made a comment about the fact that I really wanted 3 individuals to kind of help me out on a little experiment. And part of the experiment, again, is to actually do the pitch part 1 and part 2. I don't know if individuals actually remember from the previous week. Matter of fact, let me see if I have it in here. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Where is it? This is the part 2. And I did this actually last week in Porter's. I actually did it the week beforehand as well. It was really a short conversation about what your business model is, the go-to market plan, competitive analysis, and the management team. Who are your stars? For the 3 individuals that are going to be chosen today, I want you really to begin to think about this. Because when I call, the business model is actually going to be an interesting conversation. The management team, a lot of us don't have management teams per se, but there are individuals that are intricate to the business that we actually have. And so these are our stars. These are the people who are helping us at this particular point. These are the individuals that we also want to recognize for helping us to do what we need to do. So this is part 2. Everybody knows the part 1. So the first person I would like to put on the cross right now is Ms. Shana. Would you be interested in volunteering as being an individual to do the presentation in week 12? All
Yes.
right. Good job. Good job. Miss Barbara, do I have you as being an individual?
Yes.
All right. Good job. Good job. Mr. Eric, are you interested in being one of these individuals? I know he's probably out there messing with somebody's storm drain. Let's see who else we have on there. Are you there? Oh, E. Would you
I'm
like to be
sorry.
one of the individuals that are a part of this demonstration piece for week 12?
Sure, I'll give it a shot.
Okay. Do me a favor, send me a chat message specifically to me with your phone number so I can give you a call.
Okay, will do.
All right. I need another male. I want to kind of make this balanced out here. Where are my other males here? Oh, I know I got the big Michael B. You interested, Michael? Thank you, Shana. Thank you, Barbara. Mr. Michael, you on the call? I saw you come on. Okay. Let's see who else I got here. Who are my other males that are actually on the call? Am I missing something? Help me out here, Adam. Who am I missing?
In terms of gentlemen,
Let's see. As far as gentlemen are concerned.
we got Alfonso, Mike.
Oh, Alfonso. I didn't see Alfonso. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right. Did you want to be my last individual for the part 1 and part 2?
I give it a shot.
I'd appreciate that, man. I really do. Listen, send me in the chat your number so I can give you a call over the next couple of weeks and we work on the part 2 session of the pitch. Part 1 you should already know about because you were part of the class. But the part 2 we're going to enhance a little more. All right, thank you. I want you guys give my people a hand here. Okay, Shayna, Eric, Barbara, and Alfonso. Give them a hand. Give them a clap. Put it as a response, as a reaction. That's right. Let's give some support. Because what I want to have happen and what I want to show you guys, like I did with the initial pitch, it can be done in 30 seconds or less. And this particular piece that these folks are going to get, it will be possible to introduce what they have to do in less than a minute and a half. So keep that in mind. And next week, which I hope everybody's going to be on, Shayna, Eric, Barbara, and Alfonso will at least do part 1 because I want people to hear how they sound, even with how far we've gotten now. And then I wanted everybody to hear what the rest of it actually sounds like. And it's that piece that actually, again, creates a situation that will allow your customer to possibly ask you an additional question, and you can then take them off into another path with regard to the best of benefits. So again, everybody understands this part of your story, your introduction, who you are, the company, what it does, the observation, why did the business come about the way that it did, one solution, and we're actually going to talk about it. I like the solution that you have, Eric, but I want to change it just a little bit so that you're not necessarily giving away what I consider the secret sauce. And then we have how to accomplish your relatives. How does this solution actually accomplish? Okay. And then this is the last piece that a lot of people, even in the introductions, are not doing, is really what the wow is. And the wow primarily is based on how do your customers feel about what you do. More interesting, what do they do? Are they so excited that they just levitate off the floor? If this is the case, this is what I want you to be able to say. All right. This week, we're going to talk about projections. I pulled this up from Spike Lee. And Spike was, you know, I'd like to state that Spike Lee is not saying that African-American culture is just for Black people alone to enjoy and to cherish. Culture is for everybody. Projections are for everybody. And I want you to think about that comparison, and we have time. I'm going to ask you an interesting question in the end. There was another piece that I happened to find. I don't know, this person seems to have been unknown. It says, projections are like culture. It's a way to carry you forward into the future. Is anybody here afraid of the future? Say yes or say no in the chat. Is anybody afraid of the future? With the business, with life, you know, with having $1 million dropped in your hands tomorrow? Let me know in the chat. All right, I got some folks definitely excited for the possibilities and definitely for the future. Good job. Anybody else? Come on, people. Anybody? You give me a thumbs up in the chat for that. I mean, in the on your screens for that matter. Okay, good job. I want people to really begin to get excited for the future. COVID is nothing more than an opportunity that has occurred. It's all about us trying to be able to work through it. Can I get an amen on that? Can I pass the plate around to the congregation? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. That's right. It is nothing more than a detour. Thank you, guys. Thank you. We will adapt. All right, let me get into the projections. Do you guys know what projections actually are? Anybody? Come off mute if you want.
Is it like just kind of projecting what you might spend, or like what like you might come up with, like as far as the business itself? So I don't know what you project is going to be, like, I guess the end goal or something like that.
Okay, that's definitely one way of putting it. Anybody else? What are projections?
Is it like predicting the future based on expectations or the information you might have on hand and now?
Definitely. Well, a look to what you will want to have happen for the future. That's a better way of putting it. Adam put down a roadmap. Yes, that is also a roadmap. Who else do I have? We got roadmap. We've got look into the future. What else do we have? Come on, folks. What are projections? Even if it was a matter of life, what are projections? Because they're not always just numbers.
Trends?
A trend that you want to have occur. What else? Anybody else?
Snapshot of your future.
Snapshot of the future. Good one. Forecast. Definitely. Definitely. It is about being able to plan and put stuff on paper, which indicates what potentially will happen with regard to what you want to have happen. It is a possibility of a goal, an achievement which needs to be achieved. Everybody gets that, right? An achievement which needs to be achieved. There are a lot of us that want to achieve stuff, but if we don't have any achievement behind it, okay? It's like starting a race and all of a sudden you're at the finish line, but you didn't run, you jumped in somebody's car, okay? What do we got here? I projected I will live and dance until I'm 100. Oh, I'm scared of you, girl. Ooh. Just 100, yeah, that should have been 120. Building my plan, yes, yes.
You're too loud.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't muted.
Oh, no, that's not
She
your.
was too loud, but I was just saying that is it like basically setting up a goal? Like I want to dance until I'm 120.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that I want to do all of the things now to make sure that that projection is accurate.
That is one of the keys to projections. Not only is it a matter of actually putting down what you want to actually have happen, but the backside of it is, what do I need to do now in order to make that come to fruition?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very good, folks. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Eric, you were fine, man. You were like phenomenal. You're going to be almost one of my easier assists here. You know, all I'm asking for is 5%. Island in the Pacific in a couple of years will be good. But no, Eric, you were fine, man. You were fine. So.
Shark Tank, Western New York style.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so can everybody see my screen, right? You see a screen, it's got a bunch of numbers on it. Everybody see my screen? Say yes, no, thumbs up. If you can't, let me know.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to take a look in particular that in this particular screen, there are a bunch of numbers. Now, actually, this was taken from a real case that I was actually working on. And I want to make some interesting comments about it. But you will notice there's really not a beginning balance here, okay? This is what the assumed sales are going to be for this particular individual. You have your operating expenses. Now, this is just part of them. They continue into the next page here. And I wanted people to just kind of see this. You know, equipment rental, travel, car, supplies, phone and internet, you know, interest. We don't talk a lot about that, but you may already have a loan and interest, quite honestly, for anybody that knows how income statements work. You can't put your entire payment of the loan on your income statement. What shows on your income statement is only the interest that you pay, because it is the interest that is an allowable deduction based on IRS's guidelines. Okay? As last year, we can actually talk more about that. We can get it together. Make you great again, despite I'm stealing that pun. But anyway, but these are expenses. These are things we deal with. And some of these are items that we deal with personally in the house. Quite honestly, for most everybody, meals and entertainment shows up a lot of times. Don't use it if you don't have to, because the reality gets to be IRS, that's like one of those flagged items for IRS. If you're spending money on meals and entertainment, then you better be strictly in the entertainment business, i.e. you better have a casino, and even with that, you can only, quote unquote, allowably deduct so much of it. But you got postage, your payroll, repairs and maintenance. People sometimes don't know what this is. How much are you putting in to fix the building? Did you have to fix the door and it cost you $200? Well, you know what? If you're using 40% of that house, okay, for your business, you spent $200 on a door, then that means that $80 the business owes you personally and there's also an allowable deduction on your taxes. One day we may get into this whole tax thing, because we operate on two different levels here, okay? The first, quite honestly, is what we show from our records, which are reported to the Internal Revenue Service, by which we pay taxes on. And I said this beforehand, don't be afraid to pay taxes. It's called the cost of doing business. Because if you don't have a profit by which you have to pay taxes on, you aren't making any money, okay? It's not about did I make enough money, you're not making any money. But the other is, how do we operate internally in order to be able to do the things that we need to do? And cash flow statements are one of those ways of showing this. So as again, I showed you revenue here, okay? These are operating expenses. These are continued operating expenses. And the bottom line here is supposedly how much cash you have left after. Make money, spend money, spend on other items. This is the third page here. Aha, y'all didn't see this one. Other adjustments associated to your cash. What's on here? The bank loans. This is not the income statement. This is a cash flow statement. This is your income statement. Revenue minus expenses gives you total operating, okay? This is your net profit from operations. This page are your income statement, okay? This page and this page and this page are your cash flow statement. This tells you how much cash you have left after you've made some money, spent some money, and now other adjustments, because they are affecting your cash, Again, I'm paying it out. What do I actually have left? And in this particular example, you'll notice that the ending cash, this is a negative. By the way, if you're looking at spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets do one of two things. You can either put parentheses around numbers that are negative, or you can physically have a minus sign which sits in front of it. But that's how you tell it's a negative position. How would this look different with a startup business? Not much, because what you're looking at is actually some formulation that was put together for a startup. We were trying to determine what the revenues actually needed to look like in order to cover all of the money that was being spent for the company. And like I said in the beginning here, this first little piece, this is normally where you put the money that you're investing into the business, your cash. Because you might need to put some money into the business to cover your payroll and things of that nature. You'll notice in this particular case, strictly from the sales. Okay, that was 8,600, almost 8,700. You're spending 6,400 just in operating expenses. But that 8 minus 6 gives you 2,200. The additional money that you have to spend goes for your loan, your cost of sales. Look familiar, folks? And this cost of sales also, you notice it says change in inventory. Every time you sell an item, in theory, you have to buy something else to replace it. So I bought it for $50, I sold it for $100, but I have to buy it again, which means I'm spending $50. So net that true process, that cycle, you made 50 bucks. And that's gross. Now you have to subtract what did it cost for each of those particular items associated with my business operations. Everything here, my operational expense. And there's a couple rules of thumb that can be used to figure out some stuff. But this is what I also say. The reason for the success formula, and even before success, is to actually take a look at what is it costing you to actually grow the business, not just to collect money and, yeah, I can buy some oodles and noodles this weekend, I can keep going on. The issue is, what does it cost me to really run this business and to have it grow? Can anybody answer the question to me what a budget truly is? Anybody? What's a budget?
Is it taking care of like the necessities?
No. Nope.
No.
And I said true budget.
The money,
That's
like the money to take care of the necessities.
well, see, that's what we've been taught.
Right.
Okay. What's a real budget? Anybody?
Is it
Sydney,
income versus expenses?
Something like that.
I'd say it's a plan for what you're going to do with the money, or what, you know.
What you're going to do with the money. Expound on that a little bit. Okay. A budget. What you're going to do with the money. Let me ask you this more interesting, because I'll make it simple for you. Do you already have the money, or is this money that you're looking to get in order to be able to spend?
So it could be both.
Explain.
So you have a part of the budget based upon what you know that you have right now, like the snapshot of today. And then you base your, you know, what you're going to do, your plans for that money on that. But then you also have to look at future cash flow. You have to look at what you're going to need in order to fulfill some of the other expenses that you have. So you're going to have to make a plan for how to get there to fulfill those future plans and expenses and, you know, assets and things that you're going to get.
Yeah. Let me make it simple for you guys. The true definition of a budget is money you already have that you can spend for what you need to spend it on. But the point is you already have it. So at the end of the year, when these people, quote unquote, your profits, carry over to the next year after they take some of my taxes. What is it that I need to spend this money on? How am I going to spend this money? Which is why at the end of the year, if you got 50 bucks, what are you spending your $50 on come the next year? If you got $1 million, which is left, what am I actually spending this money on? Oh, and by the way, if you ever end up at the end of the year with $1 million bucks, you're going to do like most major companies actually do. What do we need to buy that we can actually expense so that we don't have to pay so much in taxes? This is a trick of major corporations. If you ever heard of corporations that bought all this equipment at the end of the year, I bought our employees new computers and stuff like that. They weren't doing it because they loved the employees. They were actually doing it, quite honestly, because I need to spend some money so I'm not taxed so much. But I need to buy something that's useful. Okay? So let me move it on here. And there were some good pieces in here. This particular piece in and of itself, quite honestly, is a friggin' 4 or 5 hour class just in and of itself. So anyway, we look at here, our monies, our lines go down. This particular page happens to be a summary page. We know as we made some money, we spent some money, there was additional monies that had to be spent. We ended up having cash. This cash happened to be negative. In a cash flow statement, it moves up to the beginning of the next month. Now we're already at a loss. We figured out we're going to make this amount of money as it were just for the month as an average. We're spending money for the operations. We're spending money for adjustments. But now this number is actually going to increase. It's going to increase because we already weren't making enough money, enough revenue to cover the stuff we needed to pay internal to the operations. And so now what happens, we started already with a negative. We didn't have any cash over here, by the way. We started with a negative, which means all this is going to be negative. And you notice this bottom line here, ending cash is constantly increases. So there are two things in place here. One, I need to begin to have some money that I'm contributing into the business that's cash that will help me with working capital. The other is I may need to increase what my sales were technically actually looking like, primarily because I'm constantly losing money. And actually it's interesting. I just noticed something different about this slide. So this is one of the things that we have to kind of keep in mind. Again, the summary. This is what was constant, which was being made. On the bottom here was the ending cash. We're not making enough money to give us enough cash to run our operations. All of this was just right here in the middle. Did everybody get this? All this in here. We're not making enough cash in order to pay this stuff here, which again, why is the success formula so interesting? Because it's taking into account all of which we need to spend for our operations so we can do what we need to do. So we can do what? We can pay our employees, we can pay our operating expenses, we can pay off our operating debt, and we can get paid. So everybody get that? Give me some thumbs up, please. Got some thumbs up? Got some stuff happening?
Hey, Michael, this is Dion.
Yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just jump in here for a minute. I would like to encourage all of our class participants to pay attention to their numbers, whether it's your personal financial health or your business financial health. For some reason, we tell ourselves, oh, it's numbers, I'm not good at numbers. And for some of us, it seems like we have arithmophobia. We fear numbers. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to know. But I want you to think of it in terms of your physical health. You might be going along just fine and you're thinking you're fine. You feel fine, you look fine, but you don't really know until you visit your doctor and the doctor does your annual checkup and your numbers come back on your blood panel, your EKG, all these different diagnostic tests that your doctor does each year to see whether or not you really are healthy. Those numbers tell the story of your physical health. It's the same thing with your financial health. The numbers tell the story, and you can't get ahead of a problem unless you know what the numbers are. And we can help you understand that. We can simplify it for you. We can provide you with templates. So all you have to do is plug in your numbers. We'll show you where to plug them in, how to do it, when to do it. I'm going to start off with a very simple budget sheet. There you go, Lola. I'm going to start off with a very simple budget sheet. This is a budget sheet that's available on consumer.gov. This is your personal household budget. Start with that. Put your numbers in, and you will have a good view of what your financial health is. You can do your projections based on the income that you're earning now, and your expenses. What are my projections for next month? How much money will I have to save? How much money will I have to pay out? How much expendable income will I have? It's coming up on the end of the year. Maybe I want to donate to a charity or two. Will I have money for that? Being afraid of your numbers is not going to help you. And you're not going to be a good business owner. You're not going to be able to manage your household if you are not taking care of your financial health. So that's my little
Your soapbox thing? Okay.
I'll climb down off my soapbox now, but thank you, Michael. I did not mean to no, but I'm serious. And
Yes.
people need to organize themselves, organize your information, organize your time. I'm going to plug into the chat a couple of articles on time management for people as well. You need to make the time to do this. Work on your budget. Work on your cash flow statement. SCORE. SCORE is an organization of retired business leaders and business owners. They have some really great free resources. Here's one. I'm going to plug it into the chat. This is a 12-month cash flow statement template from SCORE. There are so many resources out there available to you. And if you want to really know how to understand these numbers, which is important, you cannot run a successful business and you do, even if you say, you know what, I'm going to have an accountant. How do you know your accountant isn't ripping you off? Right? So you must understand your own numbers, your own financial health before you can expect someone else to understand it and run it and do it for you. I'm just check the chat. I've got a couple of links in there. I'm going to also plug in a couple of articles and some information on time management. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. And Deanne is correct. Got to know your numbers. Anybody that watches Shark Tank, what's one of the few things that they sit around and ask you? What are your numbers? Got to know it. My thing is this. Numbers are not to be feared, but they are to be respected. And if you keep that in mind, you will go far. So, rules for projections. Some people actually have been asked to do a couple of interesting things. Let me back this up. And one of those things actually was a lot of times what they'll do is they want you to do 5 years of projections. As a quick piece, I think it's ludicrous because the reality gets to be anything beyond 3 years is an exaggeration. Beyond that, you know, but I think they do it because a lot of people do not realize that 5 years out, a lot of people are not seeing what their numbers potentially are going to do. And internally, they may be looking at something that says, okay, you're doing good for 3 years, but year 4 and year 5, you just bottom out. You may not be able to see that. And again, if you don't have an idea, you don't, like I say, have respect for the numbers. Don't fear them, but have respect for them. Because the more respect you have for them, the better you understand them. The better you understand them, the better off you are. So, things that need to be kept in mind with regard to your numbers. Again, look at 5 years worth of numbers. If you're lucky enough, you can get away with 3. If you have, at any point in time, okay, your cash balance and your cash flow statement, if it ever hits 0, find out why. Because quite honestly, they're one of several things that are going on, okay? One of several things. Either you're not making enough money or you're spending too much on the other end, okay? And that includes your own compensation for the business, by the way. Because the thing, if there's no cash, how do you operate? And this is when we get into having to borrow additional money, leverage additional money, bring money into the system that you may or may not want to have. So, oops. Let me write this in here real quick. My other item. Do you recognize the numbers, again, when it comes to quote unquote business use of funds? I say this over and over again. And again, all this stuff overlaps. All of it overlaps. Consider all the expenses associated to the business itself. And when I say that, again, this is what's the difference between before success formula and the success formula itself. Because your active lifestyle expenses will actually dictate a lot of what you do with regard to the business. And we don't normally record this stuff. A child wanted to go get some pizza. You know, our child wanted to drive the company car, which was your car, but it's a company car. And so you put miles on it, it gets damaged, tires need to be changed. You know, you got to pay attention to that stuff, especially because if you use this stuff for business, the issue is technically, those aren't allowable deductions. You got to plan for your success. You got to know your numbers. They may not be beautiful. And notice I use the term beautiful, okay? But if they work, that's all you care about. They work, because you can justify that they work. You can't justify if they don't make any sense at all. And again, you look to your future. And for a lot of us, it's a matter of planning our particular legacy, whether it's the business, family, or the next generation. So has anybody got any questions offhand about some of the stuff we've actually talked about? Unfortunately, we've gone a little over, but I am at the end of the presentation. I hope this was something that was informative to everybody. And again, remember, for everybody, these are the 2 components, number 1 and number 2, associated with the presentation and pitch piece. So I'm gonna hand it back over to you, Adam. I wanna thank everybody. I hope this was useful.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. I'm going to get over to my slides here. Mr. McCarley, thank you so much. Projections, again, guys, numbers are scary. But again, they're not to be feared. So they can, if you don't, the longer you put off interacting with them, the longer you put off understanding them and looking at them, the more daunting it's going to feel. So your numbers just, you're trying to find the story of your business. Your numbers tell you the story of your business. So keep that in mind. Use these resources. Let me share my screen here. So we're all looking at this. There we go. Okay. So, but yeah, don't fear your numbers, respect them. And if you're not the expert on your business, if you're not the expert on your numbers, who else is going to be? So that's your responsibility as a business owner, to know your numbers. And to be able to say, you know what, I don't know what this means. I don't know how to analyze this, and then go talk to somebody who does. So the numbers we need to worry about right now are number 4, because we have 4 places we want to give you a voucher to. So let me know in the chat where you want to eat this week. We'd love to, we want to make sure we get you a meal this week. We don't get to be face-to-face and do fellowship like we'd like to. So we do want to feed you though. So let me know in the chat where you want to eat. Freddie J's in Buffalo. They are still under renovation. They're finishing up later this week, so they'll be back open Friday. So this week, Freddie J's is back up and running on Friday, and then Sunshine Vegan Eats also in Buffalo, and then El Pilon Criollo in Rochester, and the Arnett Cafe in Rochester as well. So let me know where you want to eat, and we will we'll make sure we get those vouchers out to you in the next day or so with the follow-up email. And we're gonna a couple announcements as we wrap up here. Next level, next Monday, week 8. We're going to be, so we're, 3/4 of the way through by the end of next Monday. And Mike, what are we talking about next week for week 8?
Well, actually, we are going to talk about succession planning.
Right.
I know many of you
So
have a
we're
lot of family members who want to take over the business and you want to help them out. So we're actually going to have that conversation.
Yeah. So how do you leave your billion-dollar business to your family? How do you get prepared for that? And that's what we'll be talking about this Friday. Put on your calendars. It's free, 11 a.m. this Friday, October 30th. Small Business Forum, the last one of the year. How to increase your sales, rev up your revenue, increasing sales during the holiday season. How to use those holidays to your advantage, and make sure that you're serving your customer and that you are at the top of your customer's mind during the holiday season here. Change the game, the free event for small businesses to learn about funding, grant funding, loan funding, financing options. Thursday, 3 o'clock to 5:30. The Pathstone team will be there. It's virtual. Check us out. We're excited to have you there. It's free. We're going to help you find money for your business to make it through COVID, to start, to grow, whatever you need money for. There's cash out there available. And then Profit and Loss podcast. Check that out. That's the new project from Pathstone Enterprise Center. Jahida and I are the hosts of that, so check that out. And then the Fast Forward Monroe County Grant Program, for those of you in Rochester, Monroe County, check that out if you're looking for grants. And please, feel free to reach out to us, pecky@pathstone.org. If you guys have questions about what's going on in class, or if you have questions about the grants or funding or anything like that, please let us know. We need to, we want to make sure you're getting all the help you need. So please reach out to us. Let us know how we can help. And with that, I think that's it, guys. So next Monday, 12 to 1:30, same bat time, same bat channel. We will be right here for week 8 of Next Level. If you're going to be a graduate, send us your bio and your headshot to pecky@pathstone.org. Other than that, I think we're good to go. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye, everyone. Have a good week.
Take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Have a good week,
Yeah,
everyone.
everybody have
you.
a good week.
All righty.
See you some on Friday.